Okay. Can y'all hear me okay? It seems kind of echoey in the room I'm in.
I think you sound pretty good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So thank you, Megan, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. So for those of you in the session, this is Megan Morales. She's the owner of Serial Killer Sweets. She's been in business for, well, I mean, in various sorts of businesses, I guess, for the past, 5 years, practically?
Yes.
Yeah. And so the point of today's session is to really talk about utilizing sort of your online interface for your business. And I think that Megan has one of the best sort of stories that's come about for that, especially because of how she moved into a brand new facility. And I think the intention initially was to be, brick and mortar with people coming, inside to visit and purchase, and that had to totally flip on its head. So I'm really excited. This is the first time that we've had her in the mentor role, but Megan went through our program sort of twice almost.
Yes.
And so she's got a lot of experience, and so I if you have any questions, by all means, just feel free to pop them in the chat. Or I don't know how Megan would want to do questions otherwise, but yeah, just let us know and we'll do our best to make sure that she sees them and is able to answer them. And ideally, if possible, perhaps, maybe we'll get some insight on how she set up her systems as well, and what she chose. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, Megan, and I'll pop in obviously with questions and just try to help source out some information. As
Okay.
You know how the thing works. So.
Yes,
yeah. So I'd love to, I guess we can start with just kind of, your background, how you got to where you are now, and then we can kind of go from there.
All right, sounds good. Well, as Ryan said, I'm Megan. I'm the chef and owner of Serial Killer Sweets. Serial Killer Sweets started in December 2018. We actually, at the time, only made Rice Krispie cereal style treats, hence the name Serial Killer Sweets. September 2019, we moved into our brick and mortar. We actually took over a space that was a cookie bakery for about 15 years. So when people were coming to the door, they did not want cereal treats, they wanted cookies. So that kind of helped propel us into doing cookies, brownies, things like that. COVID, of course, happened, hit every business really, really strange back in March, and we chose to completely shut down our inside, and we transitioned to 100% online, where we were just shipping out. Every week we would make so many treats, put them on the website for inventory, people would buy them, and we would pretty much ship them out the next day. Since then, we have slowly implemented opening back up for curbside, or for people to just kind of come and pick up daily. And that change happened because all of the postal service, UPS, FedEx, USPS, they're starting to run into a lot of problems. And because we have such fresh baked treats, we didn't want them kind of just sitting in warehouses the way that they have been over the last couple of weeks. Going online, we started with, I think it was like the WordPress WooCommerce website. That was really great because that is a site that's completely customizable. But we found that our website was crashing a lot in the very beginning of going online with the way that we ran the website. So we did switch over to Shopify. I like Shopify. It's not as customizable unless you're very familiar with the liquid code writing, which I am not. But it does grow with you. So a lot of the website lags, product lags, things like that don't happen with Shopify the way that we were running into them with the WordPress sites. As Ryan mentioned before, I've been in business for quite some time doing different things. I used to own a Pink's Popcorn, which was a popcorn store here in San Antonio. Then we closed that to do the cereal thing. Now we're doing cookies and brownies. We do some pretty crazy stuff cookie wise. I don't see any questions popping up, so I'm just going to keep talking unless Ryan had something that he wanted to hit specifically. I know that this session is about marketing your online business or marketing your business online. I will say we primarily focus on Instagram. That's where we market all of our stuff. We do like a lot of colorful pictures, cookies, pools of us, pulling marshmallow treats apart. That's all been really, it's very eye-catching. Because we are on Instagram, we have to really put our best stuff out there so that people will get it in the, I guess, the mix of everybody that's on Instagram right now.
I have a few questions that I'll just kind of prop in real quick. So,
Sure.
You're getting your business online. I think that's something that is important. Did you have a website with Pinks? Did you not? Was it just, primarily what you did? And then you talk about, how you use Instagram. How did you figure out that was the channel you wanted to use? And you have a really good following, and somehow the opening the cookies is like amazing. How did you figure out that was a thing that would work, or did you try a lot of other stuff? And how do you connect those two dots? It's kind of three questions in one, but hopefully you can remember some of it.
Yes, we did have a website with Pink's Popcorn. And so of course I knew whenever we did do the cereal treats to have a website with that as well. We've always offered the option to ship our treats. And so people, if they've been to our website in the past, it was always like, hey, we can ship out, we'd have our products on there and whatnot. I will say that SEO is a very important thing when it comes to website work. That's something that's taken me the longest to do because I do all of that myself. But it is very important, especially with trying to get found over the internet if you're not doing any kind of social media. With us focusing on Instagram, I've used the Google Analytics. Shopify comes with its own analytics as well. And we just see that the people who come over from Instagram versus the people that come from Facebook or through Google searches was probably like 70% of our customer bases actually shopped through the Instagram website. And I will say that is before we hit 10K. If you're familiar with Instagram, once you reach 10,000 followers, you have the swipe up option in your stories. And now that we have that swipe up option, I would say about 95% of our customers come from Instagram versus before we even had that option, it was still at about 70%. So that's where we put the majority of all of our marketing money will go to that.
And then in terms of the methodology, like I mentioned before, you talked about how you break open the treats and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What did you try? How did you get to be good at social media, or is it just happenstance that you're good at social media?
I learned because when I had the popcorn store, I really paid attention to how social media affected business. So even though the popcorn store didn't necessarily work out for us, it was a huge learning thing. I learned about social media, the influencers, what works, how things are constantly changing on those algorithms, and just always trying to stay on top of it. Things change so quickly online. And if I tried, one photo or video and we didn't get anything, then I immediately changed it to something else. And I kind of just would keep going until we found where we were getting either a lot of engagement or a lot of likes or shares on specific feeds. And then I also look and see what a lot of other companies, if there's a cookie company that's bigger than us, and I look and see what they're doing on their social media that's attracting people, and we try to implement that on our end as well. Looking to see what other people are doing in even different cities, different states. Utilizing hashtags is very important. Typically we'll do hashtags on our videos. If we're doing like a video pool or a cookie open or something, we'll do the hashtags on that one because that's what keeps the algorithm going, are the videos for right now.
Okay. It looks like so one of the questions that I see in the chat is just kind of Wix, right? So how did you said you started with WordPress?
Mhm.
Like I don't know if you have some sort of magical background in tech programming or what have you, but how did you figure out how to get online to begin with? Like, is it you had a friend, or did you just kind of sit down and heads down figure it out? And then you also made this transition to Shopify. How did you even realize that was maybe the right choice?
I wouldn't say I have a technical background. I'm fairly tech savvy. I grew up in the age of MySpace where we were consistently coding websites. That's probably the extent of the things that I know. And so that's why I liked WordPress. I knew to go online because even when we first opened up Serial Killers, I kind of had this vision that, one day we would be kind of shipping nationwide. We're about to get ready to break into like international things. And so I knew having a website would help that happen. We're in the process of working on it now because when we first really went online 100%, we used to shut it down constantly. So if we didn't have any inventory, the website would be closed. And we would only have our products on there. Now we're transitioning to where we have like the About Me page. We're putting more descriptions, things like that onto the website now that we are keeping that open 24/7. With WordPress, you want to make sure that you have a good hosting person. So a host is the people that like actually own, I guess, maybe your website or the traffic, something like that. Um, because that was the problem that we ran into. We could never find a very good host person that could take in a high amount of volume for 1 hour a day out of the week, which is where we went to Shopify because Shopify just automatically does that. When you're getting thousands and thousands of hits, not even purchases, just people on your site at one time, that really slows down what you can do. And so that's why we transitioned from WordPress to Shopify, just because Shopify was known for being able to, I guess, have a higher bandwidth. I don't know if that's the technical term, but they could handle more traffic that way.
Great. And so there's a lot of stuff in here that's maybe initially hard to comprehend for people, I get. But in making those transitions or even getting online, was it like really expensive? Is it expensive today? How did you figure that out? And then also, I mean, I think, how did you even get that first sale? What was that even
Um, the first sale once we transitioned online was when we did the WordPress. And that was, we just really drove home, I think, that week on social media. Hey, we're opening up the site. We're going to start shipping nationwide. We're going to give you super, super cheap shipping rates. Get it directly to your house. We used kind of all of those keywords that people needed when COVID did first happen, because you couldn't leave your house. You couldn't really, go to extra places. You had to get things delivered. And so we made sure that we kind of hit all of those keywords at that time to get those first sales. Um, that first month was pretty crazy. We went from hardly ever shipping, we maybe shipped 1 or 2 boxes a month, to shipping 200 boxes in a week. um, Getting boxes was intense. Having all of that stuff was a really hard, I guess, time, because everyone was shut down. So getting the things that we needed did take a lot of work. Shopify is more expensive than a WordPress or even Wix or Squarespace. I see those pop up a lot. But for us and the products that we use, it worked out better for us to utilize the Shopify. Whenever you are looking, I guess, to create your own website or host your own things, some things you want to look at is how much traffic do you intend to go to your website? Are you selling products on your website? Is it going to be a blogging or video website? Because all of those things would be like, hey, you can either have like a pretty inexpensive website if you're just doing blogging, maybe need to have contact information or services versus if you're doing what we're doing where we have hundreds of product on the website at a time.
And in terms of ease of use, is how complicated is it? You mentioned that WordPress requires maybe a little bit more coding ability. Is it, you mentioned you have 100 products. It sounds like it would take a lot of time to curate or put on.
Mm-hmm.
Is it easy enough, or, how much education do I need to do before I am able to maybe effectively try to use something like that?
I would say if you don't have any computer technology, I would stick with something like Shopify, Squarespace, or Wix. A lot of that is going to be, they're called drag and drop. So you kind of are just picking and choosing what you're wanting. It'll tell you, things go here, write this out here. If you do have, even if you're not doing, if you have a friend, or if you're like, hey, I'm going to hire someone to come, build my website for me, then WordPress is probably the way to go, just because it is so customizable. There's a lot of things that we lost when we went from WordPress to Shopify that I really wish we had on the Shopify end. And now I'm having to learn like a whole new, format, which is the liquid for Shopify, to try to create those things. I would say that WordPress, though, don't buy a theme on WordPress unless you're definitely know how to utilize that theme, because this is what tricked me in the beginning. They'll show you, hey, this is what your website can look like, and then you buy the theme and then you get it and it looks nothing like that. You still have to build it to look that way.
That's good insight. I appreciate it. So, let's talk a little bit more about just kind of how you came to this model. You mentioned that you kind of thought, eventually you wanted to do sales online and maybe have this idea of shipping nationally, or now maybe even internationally. You mentioned shipping boxes being an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's maybe a hurdle or a question mark that may live in some people's heads, is like, okay, so if I can get online, how do I manage to all of these other things? Like, y'all are lucky, I guess, at the moment that y'all aren't physically open for people to walk in and buy stuff. But let's say that you had to manage your inventory both in-house and then for orders online. Like, it just seems like kind of complicated. So I was wondering if you could talk about just how did you manage to all of these new things that you were doing right now?
We just did it. I'm thankful that I have my sister and our head baker, and we work really, really well together as a team. So things, they kind of just came together for us that we've been working for on this last year. As far as managing inventory, because we are doing the curbside pickups now, as well as shipping online, that managing that inventory is a little bit tricky. We do have to make sure that we have, all of our inventory correct of what we can make, what we have sold, make sure that we're making it on time for the people picking up, and then the way that we have to ship out. Finding boxes, we were getting boxes for free from the Postal Service, but then when we transitioned to UPS, we actually just ended up buying pallets of boxes instead. It was cheaper that way. But finding the size that you need is really hard. There's a lot of times where I would go in, to a website and I needed a box of a certain size or a certain weight, and they wouldn't have it because a lot of those factories ended up getting shut down, and they're barely now starting to open back up. So those things are still, I guess, logistics that we're fighting with, is making sure that we have the things that we need to ship out consistently.
Can you add a little bit more to this whole process of shipping? Like, what have you learned, and what did you think would be hard that wasn't, and what was not easy that you thought would be?
The not easy part is making sure we have inventory. This is something that we ran with WordPress. We're running into a Shopify. It's very consistent that it happens weekly. We don't really know why. but it'll say like, hey, let's say we have 20 cookies online, and it'll sell all 20 of those cookies. And then whenever we go to, I guess, like bake them, or when we go to start shipping them out, we always are short. And even with WordPress, it did that. With Shopify, it does that. We don't know why the websites seem to always short us on our inventory. When things go wrong, learning how to fix stuff. We are constantly having to fix our shipping label printer. There's times where we have stuff where we're ready to ship out and the printer breaks and we can't even print labels. And that's a really difficult thing because there's only one way to print these labels, unfortunately, with what we're using right now. Yeah, it's a lot easier for us now. I know I talked to Ryan about this a few months ago when we first did it, where we would spend 3 days making everything, packaging everything, and then that night we would put our inventory up, and it would be up for like 30 minutes, it'd sell out, and then we would start shipping it the very next day. We loved working that way, but we would run into so many problems the next day when we were trying to ship out, and so we did have to stop doing it that way as well. So now we just stay online 24/7. People can go in and buy, and we'll pretty much ship it within 2 or 3 days.
Okay, so one of the questions in the chat here is, did you always have a retail site or side, I guess, or did you start your business at home? How did you start?
That's a little bit of a trick question. The popcorn store, we did have a retail, and through the popcorn store is where we ran Serial Killers out of. So it wasn't something that I started at home, but when we first started it, we didn't have its own retail site. I will say, I don't know if there are other people on here doing food, but if you are doing food, you can't ship it out of your house. So I would either link up with someone who has a restaurant or has a commercial kitchen, so that if you're selling food or you're wanting to ship food, you can only ship it if you are coming out of a commercial kitchen, with the way that the laws work here in Texas as well as nationwide. That's another thing too, depending what you are selling online, you really, really want to look at those laws and make sure that it is something that you can sell online.
And there is a comment here from Facebook, actually, that says there's a few different plugins that support inventory based on percentage. So I realize you're on Shopify now, so maybe that's not, not useful anymore. But yeah, so you talked about, getting your customers, call it the most effective or cost-effective deal in shipping. And almost everybody in the chat or in the Zoom here is from our Break Fast and Launch program. So that, just to kind of think of that as well. How did you factor in shipping? Because I feel like that's kind of complicated. Is it a flat rate? Is it baked into the price? How do you know? Some people do free shipping after a certain amount. How are you managing to that?
When we first started, we did a really good deal. It was $5 shipping. We were trying to get away of doing like the Grubhub or, the Uber Eats delivery service, just because those companies, they take a ton of percentage from small businesses. So we would say, hey, $5, ship it to your house, we'll ship it next day. However, the shipping price, we do it 2 ways now. If you spend over a certain amount, you get a discounted shipping price, which is $8. If you spend under $50, you do have to pay the actual shipping cost, which, I mean, some people, it can be $25, $30 depending where they live or how heavy their box is. We'll run specials every now and then, for a week or 2 weeks for a free shipping if they spend over a certain amount. But Amazon really killed the shipping aspect where people want their stuff very, very quickly and for very, very cheap. So it's almost weekly where we're constantly educating our customers on what goes into shipping, what those actual prices are, what we pay for them. And so that way we're not eating too much of the shipping cost. We ate a lot of the shipping cost in the beginning just to kind of get those customers in. And now we've kind of been slowly being like, hey, this is what it actually costs to ship your box. I think our biggest question is people who are in San Antonio or in Texas, they're like, how is this, $12 to ship if we're in the same city? You have the box, you have the packing supplies, you have, what UPS charges us to ship it. And even in Texas, like we found out that if we ship a box to Floresville, it's $18 for us to ship a box to Floresville with UPS because it's some, I don't know, charge because they are not in a metro city. We did choose UPS over the Postal Service and FedEx when we switched over because they have the highest rate of, I guess, like stuff getting there on time and not damaged. With the Postal Service, we were getting a lot of our items were being damaged. They were getting lost. We were having a lot of issues. And that's actually one of the reasons why we switched over to UPS in the first place. And even though the cost is more expensive, we're not having to pay out of pocket so much for those damaged items because there aren't any damaged items with UPS.
Great. Another question in the chat here. So do you sell anything that needs a USDA stamp? And then are there any other sort of regulatory permits you have to think about when shipping food? That's kind of the question.
We don't need a USDA stamp specifically. What we have to have is on our treats or on our website somewhere, we have to have the list of ingredients in case people have allergies or things like that, because we are sending a prepackaged food. I want to say the USDA one doesn't apply to us because our stuff is baked and it's not meat, but you can go, like you can do a Google for the USDA, FDA regulations and see what you need. As far as other permits, we just had to get our regular like health inspection, health permit. The insurances, of course, we have insurance through the business in case anything happens as well. But on our end, those are the only two that we needed. And those will be if you go to any commercial kitchen, you'll need your health permit and inspection.
Great. And guys, if you want to drop questions in the chat, or if you want to drop, if you're seeing this on Facebook, if you want to drop questions there, more than welcome to. So Megan, now that you're online and your sales, I hope, are doing really well comparatively, what does that transition back look like? Are you thinking of maintaining just primarily online? Well, do you imagine there being some serious complications from having retail, once that's available again in a more fluid sense? Or, I guess what does your picture look like for that?
We definitely won't be opening up for full retail. Just the way that our kitchen is now, it's not built for customers to come inside. So what we do is we'll continue to utilize the curbside service where our customers, they can just go online, order, and they can choose a time to pick it up the next day. We'll probably stick with that at least through the holidays. We were thinking during the holidays, especially during Christmas, maybe opening back up on, a couple of weekends or a little bit later at night, just because we know during the holiday times people are shopping later. But we are still focused on doing the online sales and shipping. Even next week, we'll be launching our shipping to Puerto Rico, Canada, as well as Mexico. I think next week should be Mexico. I'm waiting to get an official callback from our rep for that. And just kind of going a little bit more international as well with the cookies. And I see, do you need an ingredient? Yes. Your cookies, it depends on, you can do it for the entire box if they're all the same, I guess, like little things that are going in there. But otherwise, if you're pre-packaging cookies individually and they're all different, they'll all need a different label of what is on the inside. So just for like ingredients, flour, eggs, butter, and then you'll put your allergens if you have any soy, dairy allergies on that as well. I know like if you're doing maybe like the ice sugar cookies and they're for an event, they have these like really pretty little gold style labels that you can put on the back. That way they look nicer. But yes, each one that's prepackaged will need a label.
So you talk about the costs that are associated with putting this packaging together. What goes into your box? I mean, how do you, I mean, I think it's hard enough when like I'm not walking in and seeing your store and your face. And so how, if everything I do is online or is delivered to me, how are you still creating like that serial killer vibe? And then, I open up the box. What does that look like? Like what went into it?
That has also changed a lot. In the beginning, we were kind of just, haphazardly putting stuff in a box and kind of just like hoping for the best. It took us 2 weeks to figure out how to even build a box properly. So now we put stickers on the outside of the box. So, people, when they see it coming, they know like, hey, that's serial killers. They recognize the sticker. Whenever they open the box, we have a colorful tissue paper. We have more stickers from us. We have a postcard, and on the postcard, it'll say, thank you for your order. We appreciate it. Here's our social media handles. On the back of that has our reheating instructions or freezing instructions. And then everything is bubble wrapped. So we put a layer on the bottom, layer on the sides, layer on the top, layer in between the cookies, depending what all is in the box, to help things from kind of shaking around, moving, breaking. A big thing though, when it does come to shipping, is we have it on our website, and it's also in the confirmation email when people order, is that we're not responsible for damages. Damages can still happen no matter how much care we put into the box. They're cookies, they can break, the brownies can fall apart. So we make really, fudgy brownies and they don't always stay. Now this isn't to say that if someone says, hey, this broke or however, that I won't fix it, but it's really, really good if you are going to be shipping things like this, that you have all of that on your website in your confirmation emails, that you're not responsible for these types of things. And I say that because they can contact UPS, the Postal Service, or FedEx, and they can go through the process on their end and get those kinds of refunds from them versus us just paying it out. Another way that we engage with our customers, even outside of this, is like through social media. We're always commenting back. We're always sharing, videos or clips of us in the bakery making things. So that way people do remember that they are purchasing through us. And then I think it was really helpful because we have been around for so long in San Antonio that we really have already built those kinds of relationships in person with our customers. So to transition that online is really easy.
Great. Thanks. That actually that provides a lot of insight for sure. And so one of the things I think is really great about your really all of your products is that they're kind of huge. I mean, like they're kind of big, right? How does that work? I feel like I don't know much about how you price or consider pricing and stuff, but I'd love to know, if you're able to share, what does that look like for you? Because these are really big.
They are. So we price them, and because we're shipping, we do have a different price for that. So we price them out where we take all of our ingredients, all of our rent, all of those things. we priced it, and I think my sister is actually the one that does this. I think she does like a 20% markup or something like that. We do try to keep it pretty low just because, you know, people can, now granted they can't go anywhere and get our kinds of cookies, but you know, they can go to a lot of places and get some pretty inexpensive cookies. And we add in all of those costs, like the, you know, what it costs us for the boxes, what it costs us for the extra stickers, you know, all of that gets priced into the cookie itself. Just not the shipping cost. The shipping is, you know, what's on the website, that's just to ship it out. I think UPS charges us about $9, is the lowest that I've seen, but that's for like a super small box with one cereal treat in there, which a lot of people don't get that. But yes, our cookies are very big and they're very heavy. I think most of the boxes that we ship out weigh about 3 to 4 pounds when we're shipping it. And that's why the price is so expensive.
3 to 4 pounds. That's a lot of cookie.
It's a lot of cookie. We, because we do have our customers paying, you know, kind of like the real shipping price, they'll stock up, you know, they'll buy 10 or 15 at a time, which is why we include the reheating and freezing instructions, because they'll freeze those and, you know, eat them at a later date, kind of like buy for the month.
That makes sense. So, you know, cookies, popcorn, how did you figure out that cookies, treats were better than popcorn? Why, you know, what was the flip factor there? And how, you know, are you considering doing popcorn online now too? Because apparently it's working well.
No, I hate popcorn. I hated popcorn even when we were making popcorn. Um, Popcorn was never my passion. That was a business that my mom started that my sister and I kind of just got stuck with. And baking has always been, you know, my passion and what I've really liked to do. My mom owned a bakery when we were growing up. And it's actually a funny joke because I always say, like, growing up, I never ever wanted to be a baker, ever. I actually went for culinary instead, and I cooked in kitchens and I did all the prep work and stuff for that. And then one day I got tired of smelling like onions and garlic every day, so I started baking. Um, I didn't even know that cookies would be such a hit. We sell more cookies than cereal treats, brownies, even popcorn combined. Like, people really, really love cookies. It's such a classic treat, and we get to have a lot of fun with it. You always get to create new flavors and do different stuff and put different mix-ins in it. And so I think, especially with our customers, they like, you know, every week, every 2 weeks, we'll come out with something new and just always keep it fresh. But no, I had no idea that this is where we would be. And no, popcorn will not come back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. So in the chat it says they love the line about the not responsible, so you know they can pretty much figure it out right away. And then it's sort of a party in a box is how you kind of deliver it, I guess.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's like layers of things in the boxes now.
So I mean, you've been doing this through summer. I'm assuming that there could theoretically be some level of melt or what have you. Is there anything that you do to cool the box to make sure that the products are being delivered? I know that we have some folks that are thinking of doing frozen foods or, you know, for shipping and what have you. And so, you know, I'm just kind of curious, how do you ensure product quality on the back end?
Personally, we did not add anything to the box. What we did is during the summertime, we changed the way that we made the cookie. So when we first started, we were, you know, topping everything with candies and chocolates and whatnot. And during the summertime, when it was getting a lot hotter, we reversed that and we just put everything inside of the cookie. Now that things are cooling down, we are back to topping a lot of our treats. But we pretty much tell people we're not going to add ice packs. We're not going to do any of that unless they request it. And there's been times where we've done custom orders for events and we've had to ship those out. Now those, of course, we will, do ice packs. We'll take even better caution when it comes to the packaging, but there is an additional fee that comes along with that because it is a lot of extra stuff that goes into the box. But just for your everyday, our orders, we don't. And we do tell people, it's all of that stuff's on the website, on the email, like, hey, it's summertime, things are going to melt. Your cookies could be warm, either eat them warm or put them in the refrigerator.
I love how, I don't want to say matter of fact, but it's kind of like do it or don't do it, right? Like,
yeah. People get mad because their chocolate's melted. And I'm like, we use very high quality chocolate. It's going to melt. That's what it's supposed to do.
That's awesome. So I am curious, how do you decide how much you can produce? I mean, I know in the early days you were leaving the site on or active for purchasing for, an hour. Until it sold out, that basically is an hour, right? So is that a limitation for you now? Like you can only produce so much, so you know that your inventory per week is only going to be so much, or how do you come together figuring out what your inventory is going to be?
Right now we still can only produce so much a week with the space that we have and things like that. So we've broke it down. So we used to have, I don't know, like 30 or 40 different cookie flavors, and that was really running us pretty thin on space. I think now we have anywhere from 15 to 20 at a time, and that allows us to have more inventory of those specific cookies. And we just, we tell people like, hey, we update the inventory every Sunday at XYZ time. And then usually by like Wednesday or so, we'll only be sold out of a few things. Sometimes maybe we didn't make enough of one, or people really wanted another flavor more, that happens. But because we leave the website on so long now, people don't rush to it the way that they did before. And so it's also been a nice way to kind of like, I guess, watch our inventory throughout the week. Like, let's say today, the girls are at the bakery, and if we run out of something, it's so early in the week, we can just remake more, versus before we didn't have that option.
You said that you're sending out about 200 boxes per week. Is that still like roundabouts, right?
Yes, I think in our highest week was the Mother's Day week, when we sent out 450 boxes. But on average, we send about 200 out a week.
Okay. So yeah, I'd love to know, I mean, guys, y'all have any questions in the chat you'd want to bring up, or you can unmute yourself if you have anything that you're, thinking about. I know I'm kind of just going off of what I think might be useful to y'all, but obviously y'all have your own journey. So maybe, while people are thinking about that, Megan, I'd love to know, in your sort of insights, how did this program help you? Was there anything that you see useful today that came of this or not? I'm cool with both.
I mean, I love the Breakfast launch. I did it twice because I got that much information out of it. I would say my biggest thing that I always took away from this was to always stay in contact with our customers, to be the ones to talk to them, to always keep myself as the face, and to always stay doing it if I even liked it a little bit. That's why we eventually did close down the popcorn stores, because we didn't love it enough or even like it enough to consistently grow with it, to do things differently, versus with the serial killers, I mean, we have a blast every week, so we always really we really like it. Even on, I guess let's say, like, even there's some weeks where I hate it, but I still love it so much that I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Hold up. Looks like there's a few new pieces in the chat, so this one looks like it's easier to ask, but or answer rather. What's the URL for your store online?
That is serialkillersweets.com. Cereal like a bowl of cereal, sweets. I don't know if you can see on my shirt, but probably not. His shirt's kind of old. But anyways, it's serialkillersweets.com.
Awesome, thanks. And then Naomi wants to ask, so, what's stopping you from scaling up so you don't keep selling out?
Honestly, space. We cannot put any more into the space that we have with the lease that we have. That's what's stopping us from scaling up. And honestly, we're at a point where we're very comfortable and we are in the routine that we're doing. And we're not having any mess ups. Before, when we, just even a couple months ago, it was like a madhouse in there, and there was a lot of mess ups. There was a lot of things going wrong. And so until we're ready to move up, we probably will not. We'll keep it going like this. I think I have another 2 years in this lease before I can look for something bigger.
That's a tough fix. So
yeah.
I mean, you've been in I think at one point you had a total, including this one, of 3 different retail locations. Is that right?
With the popcorn store, we had 2. And then with serial killers, we've only ever had the 1 location retail. Right. So we did a lot of farmers markets.
Okay, so that's actually another question to kind of go towards. Have you done farmers markets with serial killers or just with the pinks?
We did farmers markets with serial killers. We did it a lot in the beginning until we actually finalized the location we were at, the one that we have now. When we still had a lease when we were closing down the popcorn store, and so we ran serial killers out of there. But we primarily relied on the market just because we knew we were going to close that space.
Okay. And so when you think of your customers, how different are they in terms of people that come into the store, people that show up at markets? And now, I mean, it may be a little harder to figure out because it's not like you see their face or anything, but people that buy online.
I feel like they are all really similar. Even the people that we had at markets, the people that would come into the store, they're all pretty much the same. You're all looking for something sweet to eat that's different than what you can just, get at H-E-B or Walmart. I think we have the kind of, I guess, maybe customers that are a little bit more food driven. I don't know if that's the right word. But where they, they're looking for like the next new thing, the new flavor, the new whatever. They don't want just, I hate to say it because it's my favorite, but they don't want just a chocolate chip cookie, even though I love chocolate chip cookies. They want like a crazy chocolate chip cookie packed with M&Ms and Kit Kats and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I think they're all the same.
So yeah, one person on Facebook said that they love serial killers and they love that you give back to the community. So
thank you. That was a very important part of serial killers, was to consistently be giving back every month to the local people here in San Antonio. We do a lot of donations.
Awesome. Trying to think here. What other kind of knowledge do you feel is like useful to share with folks that are sort of at that early stage. I know that I think one of the points that I wanted to bring up about you having had over the course of time 3 retail locations is, what do you understand about signing these leases now that you feel like you had no idea about the first time around?
When you sign a lease, read everything. Read everything in the lease. And I guess like I wouldn't take the lease at face value. If you haven't signed it, you have time to change it. Ask for things. Ask for them to fix your plumbing or fix your AC if you're going to be there. Ask for them to make sure that they are going to clean up the parking lot, just all of those little things that you don't think about when you are signing a space. Like I would have never, if it hadn't been for the popcorn store lease, know that I need to make sure that the AC works. You just assume you're going into a building and the AC works, and it doesn't, and it breaks 2 months in, and now you're spending thousands of dollars to fix an AC that shouldn't even be your responsibility. In the lease, always make sure you have a way to either get out of a lease or grow with your lease. Like with the one that we have now, we do have the option to grow into another space that's like in that little plaza. I just personally don't like the space. It's going to be too much work to put a full-size kitchen in there. Making sure that things work, making sure your doors close, even in the space we have now. The very first day I had just signed the lease and we broke the door. And so we had to get someone to come in and fix it. But it was a part of our lease that they would, go in and fix all those things. But read everything, shop around, don't be afraid to ask for money off. I mean, even with the lease we have now, they wanted so much money a month, and I said no. I was like, I will pay this much a month for this many years, and they gave that to me. So it never ever hurts to ask for things when it comes to your lease. Always, always, always shop around. Even when you're doing website work, product work, any of those things, don't just take what they tell you. Always try to find a good deal if you can.
Great. And there looks like there's another question from Facebook Live. Do you implement any types of online ads for your website, like Google ads or Bing ads, social media ads like Facebook, Instagram? I don't even know if y'all do TikTok, probably.
I do TikTok, but I don't understand it. So I kind of just like throw up a video every couple of weeks and see what happens. We do Google ads, Instagram ads, and we'll do Facebook ads every now and then. I'd say like once every 3 months, we'll do a Facebook ad. I have noticed that our Facebook has done way, way less than Instagram, only very recently. Probably since about August, we noticed a really, really, steep decline in Facebook traffic. And I can only assume that that's because of all of the things, going on political wise, that people are just not as on or as focused on Facebook as they were even just a couple of months ago. So we'll probably take quite a big break from Facebook ads until maybe January or February.
You would do anything with, how do you manage to your organic traffic? Like, have you integrated into the sort of Instagram sales? Like, can you click through and buy? Do you have any like local Google traffic that you utilize? Stuff?
For Instagram, we do have all the click through that you can buy. We have the swipe up feature on our stories. Google, we're just now getting back into the Google ads just because we were closed. And so we didn't want to confuse people. A lot of times if you're going to Google, you're looking for something that's open, and we didn't want that confusion. So now Google and Yelp will both kind of, start that process again now that we can do the curbside pickups.
Okay. And when you're putting ads together, how are you framing it? Like, what's your mindset when you make an ad? Do you take, something that's been most successful as a post and then just kind of promote through it? Or do you have some sort of different strategy that you implement?
We have two. So we'll do it where we'll take a post that's either typically is going to be a photo on Instagram, and we'll change up the wording. So sometimes, if we do a post for one thing, we'll change the wording and then we'll boost that specific post. And then we'll do one that is a video, and that way you're kind of hitting both, like people that like to look at the video sides of things, and then the ones that like to, do the photos and reading. We keep them pretty short and sweet. It's usually like, I can't even think off the top of my head, but something about a specific cookie that we're doing, or maybe this cookie is going to be a donation for something, and then we'll boost that type of sale to go to the website. And then we do two as well, depending which ones we have out there. We'll either boost it to the actual website, or we'll boost it to a specific product. So if we're trying to promote one specific product, wherever they click through, the link will just automatically take them to that one product versus the website itself. And then when it comes to Google actually has kind of a social media style thing now, which is really cool. And you can go and under your Google post, you can like add photos, you can do events, you can even write like little mini posts if you're doing a special that week. And we've been utilizing that pretty well these past couple of weeks.
Okay. It looks like there's a follow-up to the Facebook ads. So what type of Facebook ads are you doing, like a boost ad or website conversion ads that go to your Shopify? Anything like that?
Well, yes. Yeah, we use both of those. So that's where we'll have like, we'll boost a post specifically, and that can link to the website, or we'll do a video that will also link to the website. Okay. On Instagram, not on Facebook.
I see. Have you tried any live streaming posts? And if you have, what do you tend to talk about?
I did one time, and honestly, a lot of people got on, and so I got off. I don't like, this is the most live kind of stuff that I like to do.
That's right.
When we did our one Facebook Live, it was to tell our customers in San Antonio that we were going to open back up for curbside, that they could come pick up their treats instead of having it shipped out.
Is that more of a personal thing? You're just shy, I guess, or?
Yeah. I do better like when people are asking me questions versus just talking, and sometimes on the live, like you can't always see the questions pop up, and so I didn't like
that. Okay. One other question as a continued follow-up online. So have you heard of shopping.google.com or connecting Google to your Shopify account?
I know that you can, but I have not done that. So that'll probably be something that we'll look into. Because that's actually a good idea.
Awesome. Let's see. Other questions that folks have. Don't be afraid. I can't be the only person asking questions. I mean, I can, right? But I think we've seen how that goes. So.
I mean, you have some pretty solid questions.
Thanks. I'm trying.
You're welcome.
Okay. So how do you come up with, and I'm obviously not giving away the secret sauce over here, but how do you come up with what you offer to your customers? Is it, do you listen to what they say, or is it more, going by a calendar, like, hey, peanut butter month is this month and we're going to do peanut butter stuff, or do you offer your customers the opportunity to sort of create their own, and then maybe that's a thing, or is it just pretty much all in-house?
It's kind of all of the above. If we can, I'm not a planner, and so if there's like a peanut butter day or a chocolate day, I actually have someone who does help us now with our social media, and she'll usually tell me like, "Hey, don't forget this is coming up. Create a cookie for this." And so we'll try to, have that up where people can buy it before the day arrives. We'll do a lot of people do not the kind of create your own, but they'll tag us in things on Instagram or Facebook, or they'll say, "Hey, I really love this banana cookie, but next time can you add XYZ?" And then we'll kind of go from there and create a cookie. People do also create custom cookies with us. It's not something that we really, I guess, promote because it is a lot of work on the back end. But even very recently, we had a girl in Washington and she wanted us to create 4 cookies. Her family's from El Salvador. And so we created 4 cookies based off of, I guess, things like that they make in her family. And that was a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, we take all the suggestions. We will put up polls every now and then too in our stories and be like, "Hey, do you prefer this over this or this over this?" And we'll kind of create cookies based on what people are feeling that week, flavor wise.
Awesome. And I know that you really do like sort of splice in your own culture, which I think is really exciting. And y'all have done some unique partnerships with other local spots in town. Like I think y'all were doing a few different ube flavors with Sari Sari as part of maybe their sort of in-house purchasing, if you will, retail. I was wondering, can you talk a little bit about that, like how you've used partnerships and how you connect with other owners and if that works?
Yeah, definitely. We do a collab. We collab or used to collab with Sari Sari until they were able to get a baker in house with the ube treats. We've collabed with Toasted Mallow. She's actually in Arizona, and she's turned out to be a really great partnership. Her customers really play off of us, and vice versa. Um, so with her, we buy her marshmallows for our cookies and brownies, not for our cereal treats. We still only use craft marshmallows for that. And those have been really cool because you get to get a customer base that maybe you wouldn't normally have. Like with Sari Sari, yes, we're Filipino, but we didn't necessarily have Filipino customers who would want to try the ube cookies or things like that. Now people know all about ube and they fight for it on the website. It's great, but it took, that initial partnership with them to kind of, get that ball rolling. The same thing with Toasted Mallow. Like, it's nice to partner up with other people who are doing something like that because you can't get those kinds of marshmallows anywhere. And so for us to be able to bring that in and implement into our treats, she's also promoting us to her followers as well. So it's kind of like a nice big circle of people promoting each other. I know in the future we're looking to partner up with like someone who does macarons or maybe some other kind of candies here in town, and so that we will all just be promoting each other. And those are really, really good. If you can collab with someone on that end, it's a good partnership to have.
And how did you find those collaborations? Just happenstance, especially the one in Arizona that I don't know if they reached out to you, you reach out to them.
Well, with Sorry specifically, I actually met Camille and Adrian through Break Fast and Launch when we went through that a couple years ago, and so we've become friends and yeah, really help each other out. With Toasted Mallow with Trisha, I first started following her when I wanted to make marshmallows, and then I quickly decided that marshmallows were not my thing, and so I was following her. And then over the course of following her, I found out that she was also an LGBTQ owned women business. And I was like, oh, this would be great. We are as well. Let's try to work together. And so we started that partnership, I think February of this year, where she started sending marshmallows to us.
Great. Okay, well, I'm going to open up the floor, guys. Now I'm going to force you guys, hopefully, say something. Anybody would like to unmute themselves and ask some questions? Don't be
Or
afraid.
even just tell me what y'all are doing.
Sure. Thank you. That's a great
I want to
one.
know what everyone's doing in here.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Naomi with Rooted Vegan Cuisine. I'm actually at La Botanica right now.
Oh, it makes my heart hurt.
I've been utilizing their kitchen here to manufacture all my yummy vegan foods. And I'm going to be announcing maybe today, hopefully tomorrow, that I'm renaming my business to Rooted Vegan Cuisine. I noticed you were already following my business page, Rooted Soul Food. So I appreciate that follow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And, I don't really have any questions other than, well, no, I really don't have any questions. I just wanted to tell you what I'm to follow. And I don't know if you've had the opportunity, because I was doing a lot of pop-ups over here at La Botanica. I wasn't sure if you ever had the opportunity to come by and try it.
I haven't, but I will. I do know who you are. I've seen you on social, and I'm not vegan, but I love vegan stuff. So I'll be trying it soon, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know where Lobby is going to be next, but I'll be there. Hopefully we will be seeing a new location. So, because it's,
Oh, I hope so. That really hurt my heart, that post the other day.
I know, tears. For those La Botanica is closing their doors here on St. Mary Street. That's what we're talking about. So, but yeah. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello. Hi, how are you, Megan? How are you?
How are you?
I'm
Good.
doing fantastic. I'm at home taking classes. I wanted to thank you for your time. Well, you know, we have a little food truck for 10 Nacogdoches. You've been there a couple of times. Right now, the reason why we're taking classes is we want to try to launch the chicharrón de chile sauce and see how that goes on the market. What I wanted to ask you, like, I've been following you for a long time. I think, honestly, part of the posts that I make from now and then, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing this. It's so cool. I'm going to do it. Because it is like you said, you take people that you think they're doing amazing as inspiration, and you try to mimic or do something that accommodates to what you're doing on the kind of same way. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Because I've seen a huge impact on the shift for your own business on the last months. What do you think help you make that shift? Is it the product? Is it the way you were able to get to the people? What is it? What do you feel it's that push you over to the other side? Because we're all voting, right? And you're already on the other side. What do you think helped you the most?
I think it really came down to price. We offered a good product at a good price that was fast. So we kind of hit, you know, there's a triangle. You can either have good and fast or good and cheap or whatever, but you couldn't have all three. But we really pushed in the beginning to try to have, you know, good cookies, got to you fast, and we're at a good price. We've had to change our model numerous times, and, you know, we gain and we lose as much as we change. But I think just putting those things out there and always being, if you wouldn't eat it yourself, don't put it out there. That's what I say. Like, don't let it go. Yeah.
That's my rule. Don't.
So if you just, you know, stay going out there, get with, you know, the influencers, that really helps. I mean, we reached out to influencers all over the country when we were ready to go online and sent them stuff. You know, not everybody posted about us, which was fine. We're not for everybody. But the ones that did, you know, we did see a really good return at that time.
Okay.
Which with yours, you need to send some stuff out to people. I've been seeing online, people are getting salsas like yours, but they're not yours, and they need to know about yours.
Oh, all right.
Yours is really good.
Thank you.
So text me later.
Yeah, I'll text you later. All right. Thank you.
Because
Thank
I'll
you.
forget
Bye-bye.
to tell you.
No, I will bother you another day. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Have an awesome
You're
day.
welcome.
I'm going to drop another question from Facebook Live. What was your experience like during the first months of starting up for your business?
When we started with serial killers specifically, I mean, it was slow. Even when we opened up the bakery and we're doing the cookies and the brownies, I mean, it was painfully slow. We offered deals almost constantly just to try to get people to come in the door and try our stuff and realize like, hey, they make some good treats. And we pushed through. Things probably didn't really, I would say, take off until probably December of 2019 is when people were like, oh, hey, there's a bakery and they're open and they sell stuff. That took some time. Hello.
Okay, other folks want to, if anyone else wants to introduce what they do or what have you. Otherwise, probably going to move towards closing up the session. So don't be afraid, it's your last chance.
Yeah, is everybody food in here? Food and beverage? Or anybody not doing food?
Hi, my name is Rose. Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Rose DeJean. I own Acre Noob Wellness. I'm actually a weekly meal prep company that I'm trying to start. So healthy meals brought to you weekly. I also am a nutrition coach too. So it's more of teaching healthiness to and eating, you know, for yourself and wellness. So that's what I do. I'm building out a kitchen right now over on the northeast side of town, and listening to you talk about, you know, reading your lease and all that good stuff. I mean, definitely recommend it. Luckily, my landlord, the AC started to die here. I started to tell that it was not working so much in July when it started to get really hot. And then come and find out I had to get a whole new AC unit. And so I'm glad that my landlord was like, we will pay for this, even though it's your responsibility. I'm like, thank you, Jesus, because I wouldn't have been able to even do anything, let alone, you know, trying to open business. I would have been like, okay, well, I'm buying you a new AC unit. That's it.
Yeah, ACs are tough. And plumbing, all of that stuff, especially like I don't know if you're going to be in a standalone or not, but a lot of we got a lot of plumbing issues when we were in a strip center. You know, someone would mess up their plumbing down there and it kind of just trickled on down the line and end up with us.
Sadly, I am in a strip. But lately they've been doing like some major plumbing overhaul, so hopefully that will prevent any sort of plumbing issues. So yeah, I definitely understand that. And there's one other like ghost kitchen in the strip center that I'm at, which is interesting. I've been wanting to go there, but all they do is like Grubhub pickups and stuff like that for all different types of kitchen type things. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for all the information. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can always be reached through Instagram, Serial Killer Sweets. If y'all ever have questions or anything like that, you can just shoot me a message, and it may take me a couple of hours to respond, but I usually respond at night to everybody.
Perfect. Looks like we have another question here from Dr. Maria Mendez in the session. She wants to know, where do you get you mentioned some little gold labels. Where do you get your packaging for what you do?
So I buy my stuff from, it's called printrunner.com. I usually will have someone design it. Like I've worked with a Creative Mingo here in town designing labels, and he'll send them to me and then I go and print them online. But you can, if you want to print them yourself, there's a website, it's called onlinelabels.com. They're the cheapest, and you can buy any kind of label, any size. You can do gold, you can do silver. They do matte, glossy, all of that stuff. It's probably the cheapest place that you can buy labels is going to be that one. And they always do deals. Like if you buy something, you know, they'll send you a coupon the next week for like $10 off more labels. So I would definitely go there if you wanted to print them yourself.
Great. She said thank you. Anyone else? Last chance. Going once. Going twice. I guess that's where we're at. So Megan, I really appreciate you giving us the time today.
For sure.
I know being a business owner can be tricky, and you figured out a lot, and you're sharing, you know, so much with our community, and it really means a lot to me, but also I know it means a lot to the folks here. So thank you again, Megan, and best wishes for you to keep growing.
Thank you so much, y'all. All have a good, I don't know what's today, Monday. Have a good Monday. Bye, everyone.